Thank you for joining us today for the virtual Sunday service with the Center for Creative Living. CCL, a charter of the Universal Church of the Master, has served and supported the spiritual needs of its community here in the Bay Area for over 20 years.
Good morning, welcome to the Center for Creative Living, and I'm the Reverend Dottie Boone. We're so glad to have you here today. We had a member of our congregation pass away just very shortly after he got out of the hospital. He was in a hotel room where he was staying, and he called the reception area and said, "I'm not doing well. Call me an ambulance." And by the time the response team got there, he had passed away. Wow. And I'm talking about Glenn Singer. Glenn was just 64. April, you were figuring out how old he was?
I think he was like 63.
Maybe 63. But the thing is, it was too soon. He had just moved to where he wanted to have his forever life. And he had asked his cousin, Michelle, to join him. This is his great cousin. And he wanted to have her have a place with him. And so that's what happened. She moved there. They were having such a great time. They were staying in a hotel because his house had a small fire, and they were waiting for it to be cleaned up and taken care of. And so when he died, it left Michelle with no place to be.
Oh boy.
And no place to live, because the hotel said he was here because the insurance company was paying it for him because the house had the fire. But you're not on the lease.
Oh.
And she can't find the will.
Oh.
And the family is not knowing what to do either, because they don't know what his last wishes were. I know because he told me exactly what I told you, that this was his forever house and he wanted to share it with Michelle. So today, when we do an offering, the offering is going to help Michelle stay in the hotel for another week or another 2 weeks until she can find a place to stay and a job. Because she had been told by Glenn, you living with me and taking care of me is going to be your job. And she is there stranded. So I've been communicating with Michelle. I was able to get her some money so she could go to the house and see what was happening. And it was raining, so she needed to take some transportation, and she didn't have any cash. And when she got there, she realized there's no electricity and no water. And the people that are the neighbors said, "Who are you and what are you doing here?"
Okay.
And so, poor baby. And so, for me, I call everybody baby. She's not. She's a young woman. But please put her in your prayers today. I had been talking to Glenn. When Glenn left his body, he immediately started complaining. This isn't what was supposed to be happening. And I was talking to our wonderful Reverend Dr. Eileen about this. It's kind of like he was waiting for the bus to come. He was standing there complaining that I don't want to take this bus. I don't want to do this. And then the next day, there was nothing. He was fine. All I heard from him was music. But there was that brief period where it was our friendly, grumbly Glenn. I loved it. Glenn was Jewish, and so what we're going to do in honor of Glenn is this morning we're going to be doing the Kaddish, and I'm going to invite Reverend Chris Brown and Reverend April Lucier to come up here. And get myself out of the way. You have room, do you two?
We have everything we need.
Oh, good. I love the sound of that.
I knew Glenn for as long as I was here at CCL, and one of the things about Glenn is he was really pleased that there were two people with Jewish background. Mine is a little dicey, but still it counted for him. Me and Annie, and Reverend Ann Corbin.
And she was on the
Hi,
line.
Annie. I was so honored when Dottie called me and asked me to help with the service today. I'm going to start with the Shema, that's the proclamation of the oneness of God. And April is going to be translating. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord is God, the Lord is one.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malkuso Leolam Vaed.
Blessed is his name, whose kingdom is forever and ever.
And now I'm going to recite the Kaddish, sometimes known as the Mourner's Kaddish. This is, in fact, the prayer that is recited over those who have passed. It's, for me, a unique opportunity, and I am deeply moved by that. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemeh Rabbah.
Exalted and hallowed be God's great name.
Ve'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei.
In the world which God created, according to plan, may God's majesty be revealed.
B'chayechon v'yom echon ufchaye b'chol Beit Yisrael.
In the days of our lifetime and the life of all Israel.
Bagala, bagala, uvizman kariv, vehimru amen.
Speedily and imminently, to which we say, Amen.
Yesh merabba mevorach, le'alam ulal me'almaiha, Yitbarach.
Blessed be God's great name to all eternity.
Yitbarach yishtabach veitpar veitromam veitnasei veithadar veitale veitalal shomer kudasha brichu.
Blessed, praised, honored, exalted, extolled, glorified, adored, and laud be the name of the Holy Blessed One.
Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma vehemru amen.
Beyond all earthly words and songs of blessing, praise and comfort, to which we say, Amen.
Godspeed, Glenn.
Thank you so much. I think that is it's so fitting, and it felt so very good. And what I want you to realize, that last week, our wonderful April was talking about the goddess. And this week, she switched her hat and now was working with Chris on the Hebrew part of this. She was doing the translation. And that's what I feel we all are. We all have within us that ability to accept things that are going on, the different faiths that are being represented here. And I want you to realize that we're all part of that. We're all part of the Creator. And I want you to, I feel that today, as we honor Glenn, and also as we honor ourselves. We never know when it's going to be time for us to leave the planet. So please think of, we're going to be talking, Reverend Chris Brown later is going to be doing 5 wishes. What do you want to do? What do you want to do with your belongings, with your home, with all the things that you have? Sometimes people forget to do that, like Glenn. I know that somewhere this man was organized enough to have a will, but if you don't tell anybody where it is, or the name of the attorney that helped you prepare it, well, what do your friends and family do? And so this is really a good way to look at our lives. I hate to break it to you folks, but you're not all going to live forever. I mean, the only one I know for sure that is going to live forever is Joan, but the rest of us, we're not too sure about. Reverend Joan has decided she's going to live to what, 117?
No, 102.
Oh, 102. Oh, I've always thought it was way in the teens up there. So, but she's going to be around for a long time, folks. And we like that. We like that energy. I was going to do a meditation, but I really feel the energy of what you people did was so great that it felt like a meditation. But what I want to do is have our wonderful Tim come up and, is there something you just want to kind of come up and give us that's musical this morning?
Up to you.
It's up to me? Well, okay. Well, why don't you come on up and get out Blackie, and we'll just, have a few words here, because I want to listen from the Reverend Dr. Eileen, because she knew Glenn well, and she's going to say a few words.
First.
We're going to meditate a little bit first, okay? Oh. This is called Fly by the Seat of Your Pants. Yeah. Are you all tuned up?
Yeah.
I always love it when people tune up because it sounds so pretty. So if you'd all just take a nice deep breath, and are you being pretty over here? What are you doing, Ed? Our sound man is up roaming around.
Hand signals.
He's dancing? Dancing. Oh, okay. Oh.
Semaphore.
Were you signing to me?
I had a leg cramp.
Welcome to church. If you know, just close your eyes and take a nice deep breath. And I want you to send out energy to Glenn. Some of you knew him as a member of our choir. Some of you knew him for the songs that he sang at all events. For those of you who attended my birthday party last year in August, he sang. He dedicated a song to me. For those of you who came to my wedding, when Corky and I got married, he was the DJ. He also was so good at giving hugs and asking you how are you doing and listening. But also Glenn donated bags and bags and bags of candy for our Reverend Mel's group that he works with in San Francisco. Because these were men who are getting off of various drugs. And what happens when you're taking methadone? You have a sweet tooth. So Glenn went to all the drugstores, all the places that still had Easter candy or Christmas candy or Valentine's Day candy. And he donated it to the clinic to help those people get through the problems they had. Visualize Glenn smiling like he is in the picture on the podium and the picture on the altar. He had a beautiful smile, and most of all, he had a gorgeous voice. One of the most exciting things was when he had a chance to drive around the countryside and sing the national anthem at ballparks all around the country. And when he got back Glenn, just picture him singing the national anthem for the San Jose Giants. They were always calling him and saying, "Can you come sing the national anthem?" He was so proud of that. His ability to sing the national anthem and stir people to be more patriotic. Glenn was a very patriotic man. So whatever picture you have in your head or the picture you have seen today, carry it with you through today's service and honoring him. I know that his life was about music. That's why I invited Tim to be here today. Just to put some music behind these words. Our wonderful Reverend Janet had to be out of town this week, and she was wishing that she and Tim could have been here together, because they both know how important music was to Glenn. So let's just feel his energy, feel his love, but most of all feel his spirit as it shines brightly and he joins that celestial choir. Take another deep breath, and when you're ready, open your eyes. And our wonderful Reverend Dr. Eileen is going to share some few thoughts, ideas, and introspection on Glenn Singer. Thank you, Tim. Let me get back here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I met Glenn when I came to CCL and joined the choir. And I recall after, it was like during and after the first rehearsal, Glenn came up to me and pointed out everything that I did wrong. And I looked at him like, I barely know you and you are not on my good list. And yet I took a breath and I said, okay. And I looked at him and I said, you know, I really appreciate the fact that you know so much about singing. He was a part of the Serendipity Choir and had huge knowledge and experience and expertise. And I thanked him for all of his suggestions, and I said, you know, I really would appreciate your help. I don't do this. I'm not a singer. And I hope that which always struck me that his last name was Singer. And I said, you know, and I really appreciate that. And then it's like, all right, stop talking. I didn't want to add that, but. And at the end of rehearsal, he came up to me and he said, no, actually, there's a lot you did right. And you did good with this and that. And then he looked at me and he kind of whispered, he goes, I can be kind of a jerk sometimes, but I really mean well. And I said, and when he said that to me, I knew he was telling the truth. He did mean well. Glenn was very self-aware, and he understood that sometimes his responses, you know, could ruffle some feathers. But, you know, and any time after that, you know, he said something that kind of like, Glenn, I always remembered, but I really mean well. And he always did. And he always did his best. And when he wanted to take this trip to sing at, 60-something parks and in like 70 days. And he was singing the national anthem, and that was his goal, and he made the arrangements, and he was on his trip, and his car breaks down. He could have quit. He could have stopped, but he didn't. He bought a new car, and he, you know, it was a kind of a clunker, but he made it. And he was always about people. It's like, don't stop. You make things happen. And quite honestly, I think that Glenn would be very proud of me for my trip to New York. I'm sure that he would say, and you know, I could almost hear him saying, it's like, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, because he sought that in other people. And the other thing about Glenn was that, you know, once I announced that bacon is one of my favorite things on the planet, he proceeded to get me everything and anything bacon flavored. And he would go out of his way. He went to Santa Cruz and got chocolate covered bacon for me. And even he would order things. It's like, ooh, this said bacon flavored. And sometimes, oh my God, this is the most horrible thing I've ever eaten. But he went to so much trouble. And I'd say, you know what, Glenn, thank you. This is great. But, you know, he was a very kind person. He was, as we all are, light and shadow. And his light definitely outshone his shadow. But even his shadow, you know, his upbringing and his relationships and all those things that could have turned him into someone that was very different, they didn't. And if there was anything you could say about Glenn, was that he tried. He tried and he tried and he tried again. And the things that were important to him, he threw his whole passion. I mean, he left everything on the field when he sang. And no matter what the situation was, he treated CCL, singing at CCL, like it was Carnegie Hall. He never took a half measure for anything. And, you know, when I saw on the program it said, "Thank you for being our friend," I remembered when we sang "Thank you for being a friend." And so, while I won't sing it for copyright purposes, I would like to amend it. Thank you for being our Glenn. You've traveled a lot of roads and came back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. I know you're at a party, greeting everyone you knew. And it won't be long till you're belting out your song and blessing all the world. Thank you for being our Glenn.
Okay, one quick other aside, and then we're going to introduce our speaker by today. When Glenn first came to my house, it was over 40 years ago. And he walked in the door and he said, "Hi, my name's Glenn Singer and I can be obnoxious." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "I just wanted to tell you that. And when you have a chance or you want to, tell me when I'm obnoxious." So I think I was the only one that was given carte blanche. And every once in a while I say, "Glenn," you know. But to me, that's just like you said, Dr. Eileen. He knew who he was. How many of us know that?
Who he was?
Yeah. How many of us know who we are?
That.
Now, Corky doesn't know that she's interrupting, you know. Thank you for joining us again. How are you feeling? Yeah, we're glad to have you here. Well, it wasn't the same without you. So, yeah, I'm so glad to see that you're healing. We appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay, so now, are you ready for our speaker? Yay!
Yes.
Our speaker today is Lauren. And Lauren, is your last name pronounced Kufer or Kuffer?
Kufer, you got it right.
Yeah, Kufer, okay. And she's one of our ministerial students. And so we're so glad to have her here today. In fact, she's our youngest ministerial student. So she has to come up here and hold up the 30-somethings. So welcome, Lauren. Come on up. Okay. Can you squeeze in there? You got plenty of room?
Yeah, plenty of room.
Okay.
The newly 30-somethings, just turned 30.
Hey, welcome.
Yeah, so when thinking of a talk to give during the minister program, I was really reflecting on growing up in the Bay Area. Born and raised in San Jose, and competition was so key to this area. I remember even back in middle school, there was the pressure of having volunteer hours, applying into high school. My parents had me in Catholic high school, so that alone, huge pressure cooker. And I thought that was just normal life. I thought it was normal to be at a school where if you, for whatever reason, didn't make the cut, there were 4 people ready to fight to take your place. So getting to college, I'm like, wait a second, what is this? This is a joke. College was a lot easier than high school until I was in sophomore year and I took 19 semester units with a huge weeder class of anatomy. This brilliant woman, a PT, taught anatomy. And it was like she had x-ray vision through the body. She went so fast. She was excellent, but very difficult. So I'm like, oh, okay, now this is college. But the challenge was working with my peers in my cohort. I was so used to such a pressure cooker and such competition that it was challenging when it came to group projects. Other people weren't quite as intense, and I realized now that I was really pushing to get those good grades because it was one of those things I could control. So there were some arguments sometimes. Sometimes other people weren't quite able to get their work in, and a lot of the time I would pull up the slack. So midway through the program, we went into this huge project, one that was going to last until the end of our time. And I ended up in a group with someone who I went, oh no, because I had had a hard time with her before. And then I realized, oh, I have no leg to stand on. I didn't escalate it because the past times I tried to talk with the professors, it just caused more tension. So I just did the extra work and just moved on. But I'm like, no, this is a really big project. Okay, we're just gonna have to figure it out. And we did. We had some tension, but we were getting closer. We kept finding ways to work around what she was better at, what I was better at. But there was always still some lingering frustration on both of our ends, not just her and not just me. And finally, one night late in the library, because we were always in there, we would even be in there right till closing time. They'd be kicking us out when the library closed for the night. And one night she talked with me and she said, hey, I know I've been having a hard time getting stuff in on time, and it's not that I don't want to. I actually just got diagnosed with adult ADHD, she said. She's like, I honestly thought that I had enough time to do each of these things, and I fully intended to get them done, but I just kept falling short. And she goes, oh, you must think I'm just such a slacker. And we both had a deep breath. I'm like, well, you must just think I'm a raging jerk. And all the tension went out of that situation then, because then we were able to really connect and talk with each other without these assumptions in the way, or, oh, they must be doing this because that, or they just must not want to do their work. And it got me thinking about the lenses that we see through the world. We all think that we have a certain way that we're struggling, and that it's more unique to us than it really is. So we assume that, oh, we're just bad at XYZ. We just can't quite get it right. But we don't realize that so many other people, they have those same challenges. And it's these lenses that we show ourselves to the world, but also that we see people through. And a huge one is definitely social media. Others are, success, whatever measure of success that we're projecting out or looking at others through. Others are relationships, romantic or otherwise. We very seldom see the full picture. And we do always try to show our best foot forward, our highlight reel. And we don't always realize that we're more similar than we think. So that peer of mine, we both ended up graduating 1 year later than our main cohort. In the end, there were 4 of us, all for different reasons. We graduated 1 year later. We did 6 years instead of 5, starting at 18. And I kind of had a vague idea of why everyone else had been delayed, whether it was taking some time off for personal reasons or academically repeating a class, but I definitely didn't know the full scope of it. So shortly after that library talk, we finished a huge milestone all 4 of us in the program. And we did this huge presentation, and we passed. It meant we were in the home stretch. We had passed the last big hurdle before our field work. We just needed a few more signatures on doing the real deal, and then we were gone. We were graduates. So after that night, we're all celebrating because the 4 of us all together had worked all semester. Earlier on in that final professional development semester, professor goes, okay, everybody get in groups of 4. So we immediately go, yeah, you 3. And they go, okay, so we need each team of 4 to have a team name. And the person to the right of me goes, we're team still here. And so the whole semester, the professor called us Team Still Here because that was our name. And after this huge milestone, we finished that semester, we were all having beers at a bar, and one of us started going, oh, can't believe I did it. You know, I overcame this, and that, and this obstacle got in my way, and now we're in the home stretch. And I went, what, you? Wait, you had that too? And in the round, each of us had 4 very similar stories that were all equally challenging, and one was even objectively much more difficult than the rest. And we all had no idea. And we were able to connect so deeply. And it definitely sweetened things. So 6 months later, we all came back from our rotations and we walked. We walked for graduation. Team's still here, all 4 in a line, and shaking the hands of every professor as we went across the stage.
Yay!
Yeah, it definitely felt good.
What's your degree?
Occupational therapy.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had to get our master's, and that final class was sort of professional development and boards exam preparation. And so it got me thinking how we are such an individual culture, and that's just highlighted in the Bay Area. It's like, I'll do this, and I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna do me, and get what I need. But really through connecting with others, that's how we were really able to succeed. And it meant so much more. If we hadn't had that conversation over those beers, we would have been colleagues, yeah, but we wouldn't have connected in that same way. It's so much that expectation of individual success. But no one achieves anything truly alone. We have supportive friends, family, mentors, or a really good professor. And it is so key to establish our web, our network. So I invite you to think, what knowledge, skills, wisdom, what can you reach out to offer someone to support them in your life? Someone who might not be as strong in an area that really is natural or a strength to you. A way that you could support them and help lift them up. Because people often shy away from sharing for that fear of judgment. That was very true with the 4 of us. We thought we were the only one. And then once one shared, we all 4 were much more similar than we thought. And as we connect, we release that judgment, self-judgment or judgment of others, the expectations, and also timelines. We all had a level of frustration or shame about graduating later, and all for different reasons. And I'll leave you with one last thought. As you are sharing something with another, think of something that you could receive support for. What can you reach out and ask someone in your life to support you with? Because in our community, we're really good at giving and finding someone else to give. We're often not as good at accepting help or asking for help from others. So it's all together, we're each like a grain of sand. And together, We make a great vast beach, the ocean. So let's share with others and allow them to support us as well. Thank you.
Thank you. When I called Lauren and I said to her, you know, we're going to be honoring Glenn Singer. And I hope you don't mind, we're going to be taking some time to do that. And she said, oh, that's perfect, because I'm going to be talking about connection. And I have no idea what an occupational therapist does. I didn't know they had to go for a master's degree.
Doctorate now,
A doctorate.
unofficially. Yeah.
So, but could you tell us a little bit about what you do, other than make friends?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, occupational therapy is a unique field in that we work from birth to death. We work with people of every age, and occupation is anything that occupies time. So with pediatrics, it's play skills. It's getting their core, their muscles, their coordination to a level that's functional so that they can play with their peers. It could be fine motor, gross motor, and as it's more adults, it can be people after an injury, a stroke, to rehab physically, and to get back to those meaningful occupations, anything that occupies time, like their work, their hobbies. So it's helping people live their best life and engage in things that are meaningful to them.
Lauren, and I think now you're also talking about what to do with them spiritually.
Oh yes, well, different hats.
Thank you so much for talking about that. I really do appreciate it. And when the ministerial class that we have is for the Universal Church of the Master, our parent church, and we have people from all ages that are taking these classes and doing very well. And so, Lauren has been showing up every week, every time. It's twice a month, every class, and I really do appreciate that, because it's determination, and so it's been cold and wet and windy, and you're like the mailman. You make it through everything. So thank you so very much. I really do appreciate it. I didn't ask if anybody else had anything to say about Glenn. Anyone else want to share something? Come on up. You're kind of sandwiched in the middle there, Lauren.
So I knew Glenn about the whole time I've been with CCL, and he definitely had his rough edges, but he came to me at Dottie's birthday, and he was quite serious. He had a very special necklace that he had made with the Star of David and a citrine in the middle of it. And he had said to me, I really want to give this to somebody who will appreciate it. He had two made, one for him and one for a relative who wouldn't meet with him, so he could give it to him. So poor Glenn, I think he had a lot of family dynamics that weren't very supportive. But he came to me and says, you know Gracie, don't you? And I said, yeah, she's my dear friend. And she's Jewish, right? And I said, yeah, she's a practicing Jew. And he said, do you think she would take this? Do you think she would honor it? And I was like, oh, I know she will. But he was so concerned that giving it to her would infer something more than just the gift, being a single man and her a single woman. He said, would you help me? I said, absolutely. So I went to Gracie and I said, Glenn wants to talk to you and I'm going to be with you. And somebody else stood with us too. It wasn't just Glenn, Gracie, and I.
Was Annie there?
I don't remember. It was a male energy, so I'm not sure who it was. But anyway, we stood in the back of Dottie's sister's yard, and he explained how important this was to him. And Gracie was hesitant. I said, Gracie, accept it. because she knew the value of it. It's gold. I mean, it wasn't nothing, no chintzy thing. It was about this big. And citrine was probably the size of my thumb. And she accepted it. And I know that it meant a lot to Glenn. That he had somebody else in his world that would appreciate what he appreciated and valued. And I've seen Gracie since, and she's been wearing it. So just a blessing to Glenn and his practice, his spiritual practice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, John. And welcome. I'm so glad you're back.
Happy birthday to you.
Well, let's do it a little bit louder, okay? Here we go.
This
This is
your birthday song. It isn't very long.
And what color beads do you want?
I'll have purple.
Well,
I always choose red, but
I can't. I'm peering in here. I know there it is. Can you grab that box right there? There we go.
this.
The box. There. Keep going. Yeah. The water was in the way. There you are. Yes. Okay. Purple. No. You want red?
No, I want purple.
You want purple. Oh. There we go.
I found red beads at home.
Last year.
Purple to go with them.
Hey.
Okay, thank you. It's amazing to turn 88. It just, the number kind of overwhelms me because it's so close to 90. And for some reason I have it in my head that 90 is really, really old. And maybe I'm getting really, really old.
No.
But personally, I've made a 1-year commitment to rebuild and improve my healthy body so that I'll be able to stay here with you and with my family. So you'll be hearing more about that. But, walking, I'm walking every day. I quit Diet Coke. Hello. I've quit it off and on. How many of you have quit Diet Coke at least once? Anyway, I've put it off and on, but this time it's just, I have no desire for it. It's interesting. So, anyway, that's my commitment, but thank you for the birthday wishes. I saw that Glenn had a party coming up a few months ago before he moved to Oregon. It was kind of a going away party. I didn't know Glenn very well. I just knew him kind of peripheral because we traveled in the same circles. But I chose to, I asked Dottie, is anyone going to this party? And she said, no. I said, well, I'll go and represent CCL. And I was warmly welcomed, and Tamara Bell was there also. So we represent CCL. But I want to tell you about the warmth and love and commitment that this man had with these people, both ways. He loved them, and they overwhelmingly loved him for the path that he gave them for the singing. Apparently, a lot of them didn't even know how to sing when they joined the choir, but they joined for the camaraderie and learned how to sing, which is amazing. And how many of you have been in a choir? Yeah, it's work. I've been in several choirs. It's not a small commitment.
I'm sorry. Here we go again. Last time, the reason I'm laughing, last week it was Glenn called during church. And so, I'm going.
Maybe it's Glenn again.
Yeah, maybe it's Glenn again. That would be so wonderful. Sorry. Okay.
But this warmth and love and this outpouring of admiration and their commitment to go forward. He was his goal was to, from Oregon, arrange things so they could continue their mission. And it was wonderful to see that. And I just honor him for that ability to create a loving group that lasted for years and years and years. And speaking about what Lauren was talking about, I know a lot of them that were involved had personal difficulties, because I knew quite a few that were involved in the choir. They had personal difficulties, yet they came together and made a joyful noise. So I invite you all, us all, to make joyful noises.
Thank you. I love that. I love that, making joyful noises. I think that's a very positive thing to be doing. Thank you so very much. One of the things that when I was talking about the ministerial, having people here, any of you who are going through the ministerial class, please know that that's part of a requirement, is to do a service. So think about, what am I going to be talking about? It's kind of interesting. Don't worry about it. How many of you feel that standing up in front of a group is the worst thing you could do? How many of you? Think about it. Probably in a past life you were shot. You know, and so when you think of that, you go, well, I'm not going to get shot. Dottie's not going to let anybody shoot me at CCL. You know, that's like.
How about rocks being thrown?
Rocks could have been thrown, words could have been thrown, anything. Previous incarnation. And being in a spiritualist church, that's probably what's going on. You're recalling something negative that happened in a previous incarnation. Okay, now this incarnation, we're here to help you learn how to analyze what you're scared of and look at how you got that. Where did it come from? Maybe it came from every time you stood up in front of a group in this lifetime, people made rude comments, because it could have been in school or when you were, you know, at any age. Well, what we're going to have you do is learn how to say goodbye to those memories, so that you don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay, sounds good. Today, after church, we're going to meet at the bowling alley. Because that's where we can all sit together in the big room. I'm going to be calling, so stay here. Don't rush off. If you're interested in joining us for lunch, I'm going to make sure that they have room for us. So I'm going to have to know if you're interested in doing that or not, and find out what Corky wants. What?
I want.
Oh, you want to go to the bowling alley for lunch? Okay. So the bowling alley, you're not in where the balls are being thrown. You're in a dining room. So just so you don't have to hurdle the alleys to have lunch, just to let you know what's going on there. Because we'd love to have you get together with us. This is your tribe. You know, think about it. You know, when our wonderful Lauren was talking about having friends and that energy, you're making your own tribe. And everything about that feels really, really good. So we're glad to have you here.
Do we have time to hear Tim's song?
Does Tim have a song? I'd ask you if he did, and you kind of...
Well,
Yes, he does.
I always have a song.
Oh, well, Tim, of course we have time for you for a song. Come on up.
So there was no planned song, but you'll wing it.
Sure.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Good idea.
Okay, yeah, you're here. You've got a guitar. What more does the world need? You do? Hey, Christine, come on up and get your beads, and let's sing happy. Let's sing. All of the light was on Joan today. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to ignore you. And what color beads would you like?
Green.
Okay, we've got green. We've even got special green ones. Look at this. Instead of round, they're squares. I like that. Okay, are you ready for Christine? This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. Yay! Did I miss anybody else? Okay. And Mr. Tim Morrow, are you ready?
Every month, every week, you're worried about people not getting any older.
I'm not worried about people not getting any older, honey. I kind of relish it. Anything I can't do, I blame it on age. I'm sorry I'm not very artistic, it's because I'm old. Here we go.
Coming through. I made a new decision as I woke up about a principle that I was always taught. Where my mind goes, my world always follows. So I'm taking a new direction with my thoughts. For the sake of being a survivor, I had really forgotten how to live. Until a voice inside whispered, I think you recognize that it's really time for something to give. So I'll let this end be a beginning. Empty this cup and fill it with something new. I don't need to know how or where it happens. I'll just be the vessel for it to shine through. Heard a thing or two about painful endings. They're often new beginnings in disguise. So I'll release with love all that needs to go now, and take in this new day with new eyes. So I'll release with love all that needs to go now, and take in this new day with new eyes.
That is fantastic. Thank you so very much. And this is a time when we're going to be passing the basket. And please dig a little deep, because the money that we get today is going to help our friend Michelle in Coos Bay as she finds her way after losing her cousin Glenn. And as let's say the sacrament of giving. Giving to the ministry, from which I have received my spiritual support and nurturing, is an affirmation and consciousness of the truth that Spirit is the prospering power, enriching every area of my life. And so it is. And while our wonderful Mary is doing this, just think as you're putting money in the basket, what would happen if you were stranded without any money, without anybody you knew around, in a place that you had never been before, and they had told you you have to get out of the hotel tomorrow? What would you do? And hopefully you would have friends or people that you knew that could help, that could reach deep and help. And thank you so very much for doing that. We really do appreciate it. Okay, the other thing is we have coffee. Why don't you grab a cup of coffee? We have donation. The food is all donated. Please take anything you want. There's bags to put it in to take it home. And know that we are so loving having you here. And I'm going to be calling the bowling alley and say, do you have room for, who's going to go have lunch with us? Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anybody else?
Yep, back here.
Okay, 8.
Did you get Ed?
Okay.
Yep, and anybody online
9.
who wants to meet us there?
Anybody online want to meet us at the 4th Street Bowl?
Have any teleport.
Okay, so it looks like it's lunch for 10, and so we'll do that. And it's what you pay for your own meal, and you get to order anything you want, just like a big kid. So, yes.
And from Mel Betancourt, Glenn touched the hearts of more than 600 people recovering from heroin addiction through all the candy he donated over the years. Truly appreciate it.
Yeah, that was. I didn't realize that people, when they are getting off of heroin or other addictions, crave sweets. And I thought that was so great. Mary, could you just stand and put your hand over that, and let's do a blessing. And please, each one of you, bless the money and bless the fact that it's going to Coos Bay to help Michelle. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you all very much. It was kind of an interesting day. Things up and down, because it wasn't planned. It just flowed. And it couldn't have flowed without all of you being a part. Thank you so much to Chris and April and Tim and Lonnie and Dr. Eileen. Just thank you so much. Joan, thank you so much for coming up and joining us. Each person. And that's what a church is about. It's not about what the pastor has to say, it's what the people are doing. And we bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much. See you next week.
Yay!